Hey, it's me again. Just thought I'd give another update. This one's not going to be so crazy edited. It's going to be more long form, one take me just, welcome back. Long form version of me just kind of rambling about what's been going on the past couple of weeks. Thought I'd keep you updated. I expect, because I don't have a script this time, that I'm going to be kind of all over the place, so I made some talking points on my phone just to keep myself in check. So the first order of business is talk about what you've been doing since you uploaded the announcement. What have I been doing since I uploaded the announcement? It's been about 2 weeks now. Today is Tuesday, April 29th at 10:32 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What have I been doing the past 2 weeks in terms of the project? I think, what have I been doing in the past 2 weeks overall? Well, I have a full-time job, which I partake in 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, with random days off and random actual schedules. So that has been hell on my sleep schedule. Just this past week, I went from staying at work until 11 at night to being in at 6 in the morning. So that was fun. Love that. Takes a bit to adjust myself. And after having Monday and Tuesday off, yesterday and today, I now go back into work tomorrow at 2:30 again to stay until 11. So, I will be staying up late tonight to do this with you guys. Hi. So what else have I been doing? More specific to the project, I guess, so that you're all here for a reason and I don't just talk about work. What else have I been doing? Since uploading the announcement, I have finished compiling all of the info. Am I still out of focus? Hold on. Watch this. Watch this maneuver. Nope, not that. That's what I get. That's what I get. Let's get a little closer on me, thanks. Hey. Where was I? Oh, yes. Since I posted the announcement, I have finished all of the information collection stuff for the DTSS. Everything from birth, I guess. I used the book Overexposed and Underdeveloped for a lot of that, up until now with the Moth and its presentation back in March, about a month ago, almost exactly a month ago. The live stream would have been a month ago yesterday. And with that out of the way, my new main focus becomes the script. The script of the video is now number one for me. So I think just in the past week alone, I have gone from section 7, I believe, to section 12, which, as I said in the announcement, there's no rhyme or reason to the size of the sections, but I'm doing it kind of like on an album basis. Each of the sections is like 1 or 2 albums together. So since the announcement, I have finished the script for The New Black, him leaving strapping, him having a child, Ziltoid, and making the puppet, and you know, kind of working through being sober, being a father, and getting over his writer's block, the hiatus he took for a year or 2 after the fact, the script for Key, Addicted, Deconstruction, and Ghost. That was all one section, 4 albums. That was a really long section. And then kind of like a 0.5 to that section being the By a Thread stuff. So after all those albums came out, he released By a Thread and like recorded the 4 shows and put them all on a box set, and the Contain Us box set came out at the end of that year. So just today, I finished the script for By a Thread section. So tomorrow, next order of business will be Epic Cloud, and we'll go on from there. Retinal Circus and Ziltoid and Casualties and Royal Albert Hall, so on and so forth. So that's what I've been doing since then. I've also released Learning the Alphabet with Devin Townsend. If you haven't had a chance to look at that yet, I did that. That was fun. More so just trying to test out the editing software. That's kind of what I'm doing. I want to be really well versed in DaVinci Resolve by the time the project needs to be edited, so that I'm not a sitting duck. Okay, so next talking point. How have things changed since the announcement? Okay. So I think what I meant by that talking point had to do with how I plan to format it. And not really much has changed. I have divided the DTSS up into major arcs. So, for example, one of the arcs being from the beginning up until he releases Ocean Machine, because that has like a definitive beginning, middle, and end. After that, it's Strapping Young Lad until it ends, because that itself has a beginning, middle, and end. So after Ocean Machine comes out, he then gets into his drug use and stuff like that and kind of changes his motivations, falls into a depression and hurts a lot of people in the process. And then Strapping is like the finally leaving that. So after the New Black, that's the end of the second arc. And then after that is the DTP quadrilogy, where Ghost finishes that off. That's the end of another arc. And that's when the intermissions will be. The intermissions will take place during those periods where we move from one arc to another. One thing that I just kind of found out today was it had to do with my involvement in this process, which so far has been 100%. Like, I'm the only person that is involved with this. I want that to change. Obviously, I want this to be a collaborative effort. I want this to be more about the community and less about just me, because I think that's, it kind of misses the point when I'm trying to talk about everybody. So the other thing that's changed has to do with the sections where I'm doing the album analysis, providing the information for new listeners. What kind of stuff should they take away from these records? What's the message that you wouldn't inherently get from just listening to the music? And with that is also my personal opinion on all the music. So after I talk about what's important to get from the music, it's now time for me to say, here's what I like about it and here's what I don't, and like where does this album stand in terms of an entry point? Do you think new listeners should use this album as an entry point into his music, and why and why not? And what I found just today, because I had to do a bunch of those, I fell behind on doing those analysis and personal opinion sections. I did like 6 or 7 of them just in the past 2 days. I found that, and maybe that was just because I was so exhausted from having done so much back to back to back, that I don't like this being about me. I don't like those sections where I'm talking about my personal opinion on it, because really that's not what's important. I'm going to continue to commit to talking about my personal opinions on it, because I got to be transformative and provide something new, and I will in other ways as well. Like, that's not going to be the only way. We'll get to that in a moment. But I found that I'm writing less and less for those sections, because it's just like, I really like this record. Next, right? So like it's just like, it's obvious at this point that I really like the music. I think that's obvious. I mean, why else would I be doing this if I didn't like the music? So saying, I really like this one. Oh, great. Yeah, tell me something I don't know. So we'll see how that kind of pans out for the time being. But so far, I'm just kind of less inclined to talk about what I feel and more inclined to talk about what I think should be remembered about this music. Okay, third talking point. What are your plans for finishing the DTSS script updates, recording, and editing? So I already talked about the script a little bit. The information collection is done, and that's where I'm at with the script now. I'm about to start Epicloud soon. At the rate that I'm going now, that the script is the first thing, then the next order of business to get finished before I move on to the next major thing, which would be recording. The speed at which I'm going, I can now kind of predict and set a new date for myself, not to finish the project, but to have the script part done sometime in June or July. So kind of shows off that my original goal of being done anywhere between now and the next 2 weeks was definitely outlandish and a bit biting off more than I could chew, but nonetheless. So June, July, I think that script might be finished. Could be wrong. again, but it's healthy to set dates, so why not? Recording and editing obviously will follow after that. I think recording might be a little quicker than doing the script. I think I could knock out a lot of audio recording for myself, at least, because writing the script, half of that is collecting the stuff that Devin says and making a story out of it and making it, concise. The recording part of it is me just sitting down and regurgitating all the work that I've just done. I gotta get myself set up and get the camera set up and all that. But I think I just have to do that once, and I could knock out probably a couple hours worth of content relatively quickly. Next order of business is to plant the seeds for future engagement. Plant the seeds for future engagement because, as I said previously, I want this to be like a community effort. I want other Devin fans to be involved with this as much as possible, not just me, the me show starring me. It's not going to be that. And I got to stop smacking my lips. I'm so sorry if that picks up. I can see the waveform. That's disgusting. I'm going to edit that out and try and edit out all the other ones too. Filthy behavior on my part. Truly, I'm sorry. Plant the seeds for future engagement. How do I want the rest of the community to be involved? And I touched on this a little bit in the announcement. I'm going to bring the mic a little closer to my face here. The interviews was something that I touched on in the announcement, where I wanted to compile stories from other Devin fans. What album was really important to you and why? Where were you at in your life? What were you going through? And how did Devin's music bring you out of that? That's what's important to me, and I want to collect as much of that as possible with the hope of having at least one really important story connected to each of the albums in his discography. So he's got 30 plus albums. That's going to be a lot of stories. I've already got a few lined up already from close friends in the Discord group. I know what some people are going to talk about, but my plan is, somebody has a really strong connection with heavy is a really heavy thing. Somebody has a really strong connection with Infinity. Somebody has a really strong connection with Empath or The Moth even. At least one of those for every major album that's come out, with the intention of, that person went through that. I'm going through something similar. If they found that album helped them, then perhaps that album can help me too. So that's one instance where I would like as much engagement from you guys as possible, and I'll be more official with that down the line when I'm ready to actually host these interviews. But what I'd like is for people who want to tell their story to reach out and to be able to say, hey, I'd like to share my story. I'm comfortable with it. Let's sit down and talk about this. That would be fantastic. It's like the most important thing about this whole project is to have those stories. It's the most transformative bit. It's the most important bit, in my opinion. That's what I want. Where else could we plant the seeds? So planting the seeds for future engagement. And I keep repeating that just to try and remember what other things I was thinking about when I made this list. Another thing would be like artist engagement. I would love to have visual artists take part in this, making pictures and other things to go like in the B-roll that the people watching the video can see as I'm talking. My original idea was to have someone create like a splash art for every album to introduce every section. When it's time now for me to talk about Physicist, I have a Devin fan artist design sort of like a wallpaper that uses the same colors from the palette of the album cover, and whatever it is design-wise that they feel inspired to create when they listen to the music itself from that album, right? And so to have one of those for every album and all these different colors and designs and stuff like that to help inspire, because music's not the only art form that can have that kind of connection. To take it a step further and see what can come creatively in other art forms from this music is fantastic. I'd love to have that, and just to keep it interesting. I don't want 3 to 5 minutes of me just talking in front of a camera. This is boring, and I want to keep it interesting throughout this whole thing. So any artist that's willing to collaborate, and I'll pay them. Absolutely, I'll pay them. I'll commission them, and we can set the rates. We can communicate that together when it comes to it. Whatever I feel the need, like, hey, your art style is this particular way. I feel like you could contribute this. Depending on what that might be, it'll set, the prices for it. But yes, I'm absolutely willing to pay these artists. And I mean, of course, why wouldn't I? Support the artist. None of this AI crap. I'm not going to use any of it. And then just because it's like, now we're working on it together, right? It's not just me anymore. It's now like the Devin community has come together and we've created this thing, and it's going to transcend space and time. And when we all die, our kids will watch it, and his memory will live on forever, right? The music will be immortalized even when the fucking sun explodes. That's great. My camera died. Just want to show you this. Don't look at my chins. Look at that. Movie recording stopped. Wow. That's not nice. We're going to finish this update from here. New angle. POV. POV, you're my laptop. All right. How do we continue this? I can't look at my notes anymore because I'm using my phone to record. Just because the SD card got too big. I don't need that anymore. We're going to record on you now. And we're not centered. Hold on, fellas. I got you covered. Let's do a little shift. There we go. Okay, so where was I? Planting the seeds, yeah. Community engagement, fantastic. I think I'll leave you with this. One last thing that I wanted to talk about. Because of these stories that I want to compile, at some point or another, I think it's worth telling my story. I want to do it separately. I don't want to really incorporate it into the actual final product itself, because then it just kind of feels like the me show starring me, and I'm not about that. My story, I think, is still important. I think what I'll do before doing any interviews with other people, I will sit down like I am right now and just tell my story from start to finish in whatever detail I feel is necessary, because really I have no shame. I have no shame about the events of my past. They were traumatic, absolutely. They've changed who I am, and still to this day, I'm not the same person that I was before those events. I think a lot of you have gone through similar things, which is the kind of stories that I want to compile because they're special. So I think maybe just to create like a safe space for others, I'll use myself as an example and say, hey, look, if you feel comfortable sharing, here's my story. I'm going to set the stage that this is the kind of thing that I'm looking for. And if you have a similar story, maybe not just like in the exact same, I went through the same thing that he did, but in like the magnitude sense that I was talking about in the announcement video. If you have something like that and Devin's music pulled you out of it, then if you're comfortable sharing it, I would love to hear it. And I'd love to add it to this project because I think it would really strengthen the connection that someone else who doesn't know the music yet might have gone through the same thing that you did. And they want to experience the music. And if you have a strong connection to a particular album, then you can say, this is what helped me. So take the chance. So I think what I'll do is I'll tell my story from start to finish separately, post it like this update, and then we'll see where it goes. I think that would really make people a little more comfortable with the subject matter, because it is heavy stuff, and I totally understand if you're not the type of person that wants to share that. I mean, I certainly was fearful of that person that, in a way, I still am, but he's under control. But now I'm just, I'm willing to lay it all out on the table to show you guys that this stuff is really important. So I think with that, I'm going to leave this here. Thank you again for the continued support on this project so far. I've had so many people reach out on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Reddit, on Discord. So many people saying they're really excited for this to be a thing, and that really motivates me to continue with it now more than ever, especially with it, you know, kind of becoming more real as my vision is realized through finishing the script and collecting the information. It's all there in my head. Now I just need to put it out there so that others can understand the level of detail that I intend to create this project with. You guys are fantastic, seriously, and I really could not do it without you guys. And I just realized that after 23 minutes of recording that I do not need to wear these headphones. The mic is external. Like, there's nothing. Like, I can't hear myself in here. I gotta take these off now. I don't need this. I never needed this. Now I just look like an alien for 20 minutes for nothing. For nothing. Thank you. Thank you again for your continued support. It's fantastic. Seriously. Like, I knew the Devin community was going to be like this. I expected as much, but it's you know, surpassed, you know. This is update 1. More frequent updates are available on my Instagram, The Convergent Tree. Link will be in the description for it again. Please, if you want to get into Devin's music, and for whatever reason you're watching this and you're not caught up on what I'm talking about, I mean, if you've made it this far, you must be doing something else. There's no way that someone who has no idea what I'm talking about has sat through this entire thing and is still here. If you don't know who I am, my name... I'm kidding. But yeah, no, please, if you're interested in becoming a Devin Townsend fan, then do it now. Do it now. Don't wait for me. Become a part of the pre-existing communities like the Discord and the Facebook group, and just, you know, experiment on your own. You know, go in there and pick an album at random and listen to it. See if you like it. If you don't like it, pick a different album and do it again. And keep going until you find one you like, and then go back to all the other ones and realize why you were wrong about your previous opinions about it. And that's going to be it for me for today. For the 3rd time, I think I've said that. I've tried to close this video off 3 times. I told you I'd be rambling. I told you. There's no stream of consciousness available. Thanks. I'll be back again soon for another update in the future, probably in another couple of weeks for here, but again, more frequently on the Instagram in the description. So if you're interested, it's in there, and you can subscribe. And you can follow. I don't think it's subscribing. Anyway, bye. I'm done.